Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 26, 2024 regular meeting of the Newtown Township Board of Supervisors. I hope everyone is looking forward to Thanksgiving and prepared for Thanksgiving, and that we are able to take some time during the time off to count our blessings and remember those who maybe don't have all the luxuries that we take for granted. So as we do that, I'll give you a few moments this evening to join the board and hold an official moment of silence. Thank you. Now please join the Board of Supervisors for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Changes to the agenda tonight, Mr. Manager?
No changes, Mr. Chairman.
Any special actions? I have none. That brings us to our first round of comment. I invite anyone who would like to speak to come up to the microphone and turn it on. If you need some assistance, we can help you with that. And please let us know where you reside in the township or outside the township.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, and give us your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Bill Everett, and I'm a resident of Swan Point Development in Middletown Township, adjacent to Woodburn Road and Route 332. I live in the northern part of Swan Point, literally a couple hundred yards from the border with Newtown Township. Lower Silver Lake Road is right next to Swan Point. My topic this evening is the new sewage wastewater treatment facility being planned by the Newtown-Bucks County Joint Municipal Authority on Lower Silver Lake Road, next door to the new Wawa, under construction. I would like to share two concerns I have regarding the project and close with a recommendation for the board to consider. Concern number one, the smell. Everyone knows that sewage wastewater treatment facilities release foul odors into the air. In addition to being readily evident to customers visiting the Wawa for gas and snacks and takeout food, spring and summer breezes will take the odor in every direction to visit outdoor barbecues and other events, negatively impacting residents' quality of life that live nearby. Imagine out-of-town visitors to Newtown stopping for gas and a snack at Wawa and getting that smell as their first impression of the town and area. Enough said about that. Concern number two, where it goes. Many residents believe that Court Creek Community Park is the crown jewel of the Bucks County Park system. It is in Middletown Township, but it is a county park. Lake Luxembourg is at the center of Court Creek Park. The problem is that the park is fed by Court Creek that runs south under Route 332 from Newtown Township and then along Silver Lake Road next to the planned wastewater plant site to Court Creek Park and then Lake Luxembourg. You may ask, why worry? The environmental assessment should be thorough, right? Well, construction of the new Wawa on Lower Silver Lake Road was delayed because a tunnel had to be drilled through the bedrock under Court Creek, running adjacent to Lower Silver Lake Road to allow their wastewater to bypass it. Maybe the environmental assessment of the Wawa wasn't as thorough as we thought. A mistake will have a long-lasting negative impact on Lake Luxembourg, Court Creek Park, hurting the quality of life of all Bucks County residents that enjoy the park. Now, my recommendation to the board. Prior to any level of approval, all independent environmental impact assessments need to be completed and presented to this board and the impacted residents. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Any others? Well, Charlie's coming up. Bill, I'll just note for you that I believe on the second Tuesday of the month at 3 o'clock is the new sewer authority meeting.
Oh, 3 o'clock, it's open to the public?
Open to the public, 3 o'clock on second Tuesday of the week, of the month.
But where is it at?
At the sewer authority on Congress Street.
So downtown?
Yeah, downtown Newtown Borough.
Okay, well, thank you for that information.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask you a question about the sewer authority is supposed to give us a presentation as they did with the borough. Is there any date set for that?
Thank you for me. This is going to be probably next month in this time, the first meeting in December, but it's going to be certainly the next 1 or 2 meetings. But we're planning for the first December meeting, which is December 11th.
I believe they're going to be presenting to Middletown Board of Supervisors on the 19th of, the 16th of December.
Okay. So you have numerous chances, and thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Farr.
Good evening, Charles Foyer, Newtown Walk. I'd like to first start off by thanking Chief Hearn for his continued efforts in providing pedestrian safety at the crosswalk at Newtown Walk and others in Newtown. As per the Board of Supervisors, I sent an email earlier yesterday outlining a number of questions that were not answered at the last Board of Supervisors meeting with regard to 2 topics. One is the Newtown Yardley Tara crosswalk upgrade. It's been 48 days since the award was made to the contractor. What we don't have, what we haven't heard is if the contract with the contractor has been completed, if a letter to proceed has been given to the contractor, and what the timeline is for construction. Actually, some neighbors have pointed out to me that to begin the construction, it'll probably alleviate some of the safety concern because it'll slow the traffic down in a construction zone. And the second item is we've asked for a letter of adjustment, letter of amendment to be submitted to PennDOT, and I've spoken to PennDOT staff since the last Board of Supervisors meeting, and they've actually seen the video that Mr. Mack and Mr. Default and I made, which illustrates the necessity of a sidewalk and curbing along Newtown Yardley Road to provide pedestrian, wheelchair, and bicycle safety. And at the last Board of Supervisors meeting, an estimate by the township engineer was submitted, subsequently to which a civil engineer came to the podium and pointed out the fact that the estimate didn't utilize the actual awarded contractor's quoted rates. So we're here tonight asking for the actual cost, noting that the original estimate for the Newtown Business Commons sidewalk project was estimated at 800 and some odd thousand when the actual quote came in 44% below that. The amendment and the letter of adjustment we're asking for is receptive to PennDOT, and therefore if you use, it's the same project, the same math. If you multiply the township engineer's estimate that he submitted by 56%, it'll come in below what the remaining funds are in the multi-modal grant fund. There's $384,120 left, and we'll give it back to PennDOT if it's not spent on a sidewalk-specific project, and the one that we're asking for is adjunct and connected to it. We respectfully ask for some accurate answers this evening, and we'd like to wish everyone Thanksgiving and thank you for your continued diligence on these pedestrian safety issues.
Thank you. And under the engineer's report, we will present some of those answers. Okay, any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll go on to, turn the page, our HARB report. Is there, okay, you're doing double duty tonight?
I am.
Ms. Driscoll.
Hi, good evening. Bill couldn't be here tonight, so he knew I was reading the planning report. The HARB met on November 13th. The only item we have was the curated home at 123 North Sycamore Street. At our November 13th meeting, the HARB board voted to recommend that the Board of Supervisors grant a certificate of appropriateness to the curated home for replacement signage in kiln beige with tricorn black lettering. The sign is to replace Sycamore Kitchen signage in the same size and locations. And in other business, we unanimously voted to recommend that the Board of Supervisors enact a property maintenance ordinance for the historic district with some enforcement methods. The members have some concern that our historic properties are being neglected, becoming unsightly, and in some instances unsafe. And that was all we had.
Anybody have questions for the HARB report?
A minor question because, so this is one single sign. Can you turn your microphone off? I'm getting some feedback, unfortunately. There's one single sign, right? It's not two signs because I see an image with two signs adjacent to each other in this, the curated home plus joy. Yeah, that's a different. That's completely different. Okay, we're not talking about that. All right, thank you.
Sycamore Kitchens is, they're taking over that space right in the front.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
I would, yes.
Mr. Chairman, if the board's of a mind, it would be a motion to grant the application for a certificate of appropriateness for the curated home Kate Lee Designs for 123 North Sycamore Street, Unit 1, for the replacement of signs, subject to the applicant's compliance with the November 13th, 2024 HARB memo.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion from the board? I'll say what I always say, if the HARB recommends it, I'm with it too, because I know they scrutinize it very carefully. Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve the replacement of signs for the curated home by Kate Lee Designs, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Am I going to the Planning Commission? Oh, another comment about the, maybe we'll talk about it in new business briefly, about the ordinance for property maintenance, because that's come up a couple of times. But we'll looking into it, commissioning some sample ordinances or something.
Yeah, we just want to be able to enforce, you know, currently there are some properties that are in disrepair and, you know, in need of maintenance. And we really don't have, we don't have any kind of ordinance in place for us to go out and contact the property owner with our concerns. You know, Harriet was telling us at the HARB meeting years ago, Ellie Campbell, who actually formed the HARB board, would go up and down Sycamore Street with a clipboard and make notes and knock on the door and tell people you need to clean up. And That doesn't fly these days, so we do need an ordinance.
Thank you.
Go on with planning?
Planning Commission.
Okay. Okay, our planning commission met November 19th. We had 3 zoning hearing board applications. The first was Kevin D. Francesco on 2 Leaf Drive. The applicant is seeking a variance to allow a 6-foot-high white vinyl privacy fence. The fence has 2 front yards, and the location of the fence is at the rear of his house. The fence was installed by a contractor without permits and without a variance. The fence is needed to contain a new dog. The commission recommends that the board take no position on this application. Next, we had DeLuca Construction at 473 Lower Darlington Road. The applicant is seeking a variance to allow disturbance of 60% of ag soils in order to create a 3-lot subdivision. The commission has reviewed a number of sketches for this parcel. The original farmhouse is being renovated and 2 new homes will be built. We have ascertained that with the disturbance, the developer has provided space for eventual outdoor amenities for the homeowners. The commission is very supportive of the efforts to comply with the CM zoning and has suggested that perhaps an additional variance could be sought to make a narrower access driveway, as the plan currently shows a 30-foot private street to access the 3 homes. The commission recommends that the board take no action on this application, no position on this application. And last, we had Princeton Radiology at 3 Turry Drive. The applicant is seeking relief to erect 2 wall-mounted signs with sizes of 15.75 square feet where 2 are permitted and 49 square feet where 2 feet are permitted, and to allow a 3rd freestanding informational sign of 3.75 square feet. The commission recommends that the board take no position on this application as access to the entrance of the business is not directly on any street, but only through a side door at the rear of the parking lot. The commission was very supportive of this application as it will bring new business to our commons. And last, we had a waiver of land development for Newtown Artesian Water Company, 251 Frost Lane. The applicants are seeking a waiver of land development to improve on an existing unmanned operating utility facility to house larger filters recommended by the EPA. The commission reviewed the letters of our consultants and recommends that the board grant a waiver of land development subject to the following conditions and the final review of the township's consultants. That would be compliance with the review letter of CKS Engineers dated October 17th and compliance with the review letter of Remington Vernon Engineers dated September 20th. We recommended that the board accept a fee in lieu of sidewalks for this project, as there are no other sidewalks on the Frost Lane side to connect with the project. And that was all we had. Any questions?
Looks like you were busy.
We were.
Anyone have questions? I guess I have one quick question on the fence on Copperleaf Drive. It said it was installed by the contractor without permits.
They did obtain permits and went through the proper procedure.
Want to make sure.
That must be a pretty big dog for a 6-foot.
Or a very athletic dog. I don't believe we have to take any action on these, and we'll come back to the solicitor's report for the variance, the zoning hearing board. So,
Okay.
No other questions? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
That brings us to reports of committees, boards, and commissions, and board committees, board members. Just 2 real quick things. I attended the Planning Commission meeting that was just described, and I, myself, along with Vice Chair Snyder, attended the Newtown Fire Association meeting last night, and we did a photo reenactment of the signing of the contract for the new fire trucks. So, Ms. Snyder, anything?
We have a
check over here for almost $1 million, and I was happy to participate in a procedural check-handing ceremony yesterday at the Newtown Creek for the Frost Lane pedestrian bridge, which will be one of the final pieces to connect the Newtown Trail for Newtown Township and Newtown Borough. The presentation was awesome, and it's going to be a boon for us. One other thing, to clarify, I wanted to clarify my position on battery-powered versus gasoline leaf blowers and weed whackers. What we're planning to do is use battery-powered equipment for our own township property. We're not planning on an ordinance for anybody else. Everybody can use exactly what they want to use as far as their own properties. It's just something that we would like to do for our township properties. So we're in the process of the evolution to non-gas powered utilities. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Treasurer, Assistant Secretary.
Ms. Snyder, can you clarify what we are talking about, the Environmental Advisory Council?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I really have nothing to report except I went on a week-long Disney vacation to the Bahamas with my grandchildren and had a great time.
All right. Thank you. That makes everyone smiling. Mr. Calabro. Okay. I will report that Mr. Davis could not make it this evening. He sent us a communication to let us know. All right. No public hearing, but we do have land development.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have an item under land development this evening. The Newtown Artesian Water Company is asking for a waiver of land development in order to construct an addition to their plant on Frost Lane to house new equipment to remove PFAS from the water. This is an EPA mandate that the water get as clean as possible and all PFAS removed. I'd like to frame a motion and have the board consider it, or we have a discussion on it. So if the board is of a mind, it would be to grant the request of Newtown Artesian Water Company for a waiver of land development conditioned on the applicant's compliance with CKS's review letter dated October 17th, 2024, and Remington Vernick Engineers letter dated September 20th, 2024.
Do we have a motion?
Why don't we have this let the presentation go?
Solicitor was advised.
I would like the board to make a motion, have that on the floor, and then after that will be discussion of the motion and question and answer if the board has any for the applicant.
Well, maybe after we see it, we want to make a motion. Well, why are we making a motion first?
That's completely up to you.
I would say wait until we hear the presentation to make a motion.
I can wait.
Okay.
Do we have did anyone make a motion even? Okay. Thank you. Please.
This one? Perfect.
Please let us know your name.
Hi, my name is Del Soleil. I'm an attorney with Hamburg Rubin. Here this evening on behalf of Newtown Artesian Water Company. With me is Tim Brennan, who's our engineer for this project, and also Dan Angrove, who's the CEO of Artesian Water Company. As your solicitor mentioned, we're here this evening to obtain a waiver of land development for an addition to our existing water processing facility that's located at 251 Frost Lane. As your solicitor mentioned, this is an unmanned facility. It's used to clean your drinking water. There are new federal drinking water standards that are coming down the pike next year, and we need to get ahead of those. Essentially, your water contains PFAs and PFOAs and the new standards coming out of the federal government are going to bring the acceptable amount to have in water down to 0. So we need to construct this addition in order to be able to house basically, is it 2 massive filters that are going to be used to drink your clean your drinking water. We're asking for the waiver of the land so that we can expedite the process and reduce the cost that we would essentially be passing on to your ratepayers, to our ratepayers who are your township residents, and also to try and be ready so that we can start construction as soon as possible. But I do want to emphasize that that doesn't mean we haven't gone through a review process. We still went before the zoning hearing board to obtain zoning relief. We've had conversations with township staff. We've received the review letters from the township land planner, the county planning commission, the township engineer. Last week we went before your planning commission. So this thing has been pretty thoroughly vetted by this point, right? We're asking for 6, right, within the waiver of the land development are the 6 waivers from, 2 of them have to do with existing property line, information within 400 feet of the existing property lines. 1 has to do with storm profiles. 1 has to do with street lighting. Again, this is an unmanned facility. Very rarely will anyone be there. If they are there, it's probably going to be for maintenance or replacement of the filters. There was a waiver related to outdoor collection of trash. Again, unmanned facility, nobody's really going to be going there. Also a waiver related to sidewalks along the public streets. There are no sidewalks in that area. Nobody goes to this facility. It's unmanned. Essentially, all we're doing is taking the existing facility, building a big box that's going to be attached to it, and putting 2 really big in there. So to kind of put it in a bow and kind of frame what your solicitor was saying, we're here this evening to seek the waiver of the formal land development process, even though we've gone through all of this review process, with the 6 waivers that we identified, which are also laid out in our November 13th, 2024 response letter from our engineer. Obviously subject to our resolution of any outstanding comments from your township consultants. So that sounds like a lot of stuff, but really we're just required by the federal government to do more to clean your water, and so we have to build a big box to put the filters in there. That's all.
Any questions from the board?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
On the diagram, can you show us the existing and the big box that you're putting in?
Yeah, the existing building is in the front of the property.
Okay.
And the expansion will be going back.
So that the bigger building in the back is the extension?
That's correct.
Okay. I'm glad you brought up the topic of keeping our water clean, because I know recently a lot of the residents here in Newtown Township has gotten a letter, and in that letter it made some reference to, and correct me if I'm wrong, lead piping. Is our water, I think maybe Dan can answer that?
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
Okay.
Yeah, after the
Okay.
that's included.
So we're not being poisoned as we drink our water?
Water is 100% safe. That's another.
Because that letter was pretty scary. I mean,
It was.
I had neighbors
Statewide.
calling me saying if they should be having Thanksgiving dinner using the water to do whatever they had to do. So we're relatively safe. Not relatively, we are safe.
100% safe.
Okay, thank you.
It's more to do with the material of the service line and the verification inventory that we have to keep. And if there are lead service lines, replacement.
If you, I mean, you should be talking so that it's on the record.
He's going to come up later.
You'll come up after.
I'm sorry to bring this up, but you said clean water. and-
That's why we're doing this, yes.
All right.
But what we're here for right now, what I'm here for, I'm a simple land development, bricks and sticks and dirt kind of guy. That's all I'm hired to do.
So you're not here to guarantee us good water?
No, I think he is.
Okay, right.
The building's on Frost Lane, right?
251 Frost Lane.
Yeah. One of the things that drove it home for me, that what the facility was going to be doing, was there are no bathrooms on site. And so, you know, if staff were there and they needed to use the facility, they could run down to Lincoln Avenue.
It's
to
not,
your
as
headquarters.
I understand it, the unmanned facility is not that far from the existing headquarters of Keys
Less
and
than a
Water.
mile.
Yeah.
But that drove it home that, you know, what the facility was gonna be for, was for the machines were gonna take care of the water, someone was gonna check up on them every once in a while and do some maintenance. But there wouldn't be offices there, there wouldn't be parking involved, there wouldn't be a lot of traffic in and out.
Correct. Occasionally, people are going to have to go there to check in on the machines and the filters to make sure that the water is being cleaned, but there will be no offices there. It's basically a giant box for a filter added on to what's the facility that's already there.
Yes. And then I was interested in, that the planning commission suggested, recommended a fee in lieu for sidewalks.
So as of right now, you're in a situation, a street where there are really no sidewalks there. Given the fact that this is an unmanned facility, we're not sure that there's much of a point having sidewalks or going through that entire process. I mean, and I think you know this at this point, we're not Toll Brothers, we're not building a series of townhomes that we're going to try and connect with the rest of the township. And frankly, any costs, the reason we're going through the entire waiver of land development, in addition to what we're trying to do here tonight, is we're trying to, one, expedite the process so that we can get to the point where we can install the filters as quickly as possible, but also our ratepayers are your residents. So the costs that you pass on to us, if you ask us for a $20,000 or a $30,000 or what have you, if you ask us for a significant fee in lieu of to build sidewalks in a place that no one would go to anyways, we're really just turning that around and then passing it on to the ratepayers, which is, I presume, most of you guys here.
Wonder what your position was on that, because I saw that they had recommended that. Okay.
Our position is that we don't believe it to be necessary. Given the fact that it's an unmanned facility, there are no sidewalks there, and if you just pay it, we're essentially just asking, that cost will be passed along to the community.
Okay. Mr.
Well, I assume it's a finite cost, that at some point you won't have to pass it on to the ratepayers forever. But, for example, Wawa has a lot of sidewalks that go nowhere on Lower Silver Lake Road. There's no other sidewalks on Lower Silver Lake Road, but they were required to build a sidewalk. And I was told that this is necessary, but I agree, I see what your point is. But can you tell me, you mentioned it's going to save you money if you don't have to go through land development. Do you know how much money this might save you?
Are you talking about for land development, you're talking about sidewalks or?
You want to get, you don't want to go through this land development process. And you mentioned because of costs and time factor. What are the costs to you?
Well, that's partially in engineering, but the interesting thing is we went into this process asking for the overall waiver of land development, but almost by proxy, we've ended up doing that anyways. We still ended up going through review letters with your consultants. We still ended up going to the Planning Commission. I think that this might have, and I was speaking to Tim about this earlier, at best have saved us an additional meeting in front of the Planning Commission. We've still thoroughly vetted the project.
So it has nothing to do with money so far?
Well, it was time, and at the time, we wanted to get this thing done as fast as possible.
Did you mention the zoning hearing board for waivers? Did you go before the zoning hearing board yet?
So one of my partners went in front of the zoning hearing board and received, I believe, a special exception for the type of facility that is to be operated there, and I believe there was also some dimensional relief that was received.
And that was granted? No
Yes.
problems? Okay. I also talked to Ms. Angrove about my property is in the Country Bend development, which abuts your property there. And I had talked to Mr. Angrove about trees that could be planted so that they mitigate some of the noise pollution that this might or might not cause. I guess that's part of land development, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, and Tim, I don't know if you want to talk more about this. As I understand it, we've spoken with your staff about vegetative buffering, things like that. Yes.
What's vegetative buffering? You talking about trees or?
Yeah, we addressed the township engineer, we addressed the township engineer and township planner review comments already as far as plannings.
Yeah, I have what was said. Can you tell me what was agreed or talked about?
The specifics of their buffer and their tree landscaping requirements.
Yeah.
They made specific requirements as far as buffer planting and frontage trees, street trees, and we've addressed.
It's not going to be in the street. It's going to be at the back end of your property.
I'm just explaining that they brought up the review comment that street trees would be required.
Okay.
We included them in the updated plans. They recommended a buffer, additional buffer plantings in the rear of the property.
Okay.
We added 7 Douglas firs in the rear of the property where there's currently a gap. So
Okay.
directly right behind the new building that's proposed. And then we added additional plantings on the east side of the property where there's currently a gap.
Right. Okay. Okay, thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
The other question I had was about the sidewalks. And I mentioned already that Wawa has sidewalks to nowhere. But I'd like to get some kind of an estimate of what the length or square footage of the sidewalk might be if you had to do it, because I'm trying to understand in a fee in lieu of granting you this so that we can, get some money for another sidewalk, namely the Newtown Yardley Road, which is also on the Newtown Trail. It was mentioned by Ms. Snyder, the bridge over the creek is really on the Newtown Trail, but this sidewalk that we're talking about is the Newtown Trail, which is, we had some estimate that perhaps we might need a little bit more money, and we hope in lieu of not requiring this sidewalk, I'm trying to get an estimate of how much money we're talking about. Do you have any idea?
Your question was how much, what the distance is for that sidewalk?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
You remember what distance off the top of your head, Tim?
The frontage is approximately about 300 feet.
300 feet. Okay, so I believe we had an estimate from our engineer. How much would 300 feet of cost in terms of, let's say, just the concrete?
Approximately $150 a square yard.
You estimated 200 in your estimate for Newtown Yardley Road. You estimated 200 per square yard. For that amount of sidewalk, 150, how much would it come out to be? Can you do
It's
the
about
math?
363 feet of frontage on showing on plans with a minimum 4-foot sidewalk, which is the minimum requirement in the ordinance, at $150 a square yard. I believe that comes out to about $24,000.
$24,000. You think we could get $24,000 in lieu of the sidewalk?
We would have to take a look at what the actual construction costs are. So typically, in the past, when I've done land developments with townships, if we've had to deal with a fee in lieu of, it's typically resolved at the engineer level. And, your engineer comes up with a cost estimate, ours does as well. But again, you mentioned Wawa. Wawa was forced to put in essentially sidewalks to nowhere. One, I would question the utility of that. And two, Wawa is also a significant for-profit company, probably one of the largest on the eastern seaboard. We're at a point where our only goal here at this particular project is just to build filters we're required to build by the federal government. We're trying to reduce that cost as much as possible.
I know you're not a for-profit. I understand that. You don't think Wawa is concerned with reducing expenses? In any case, there have been other sidewalks to nowhere in the township because it was required by land development. That's what I was told. I was asked our engineer, why is why does Wawa have these sidewalks? And he says it's required by land development, end of story. So this is required by land development that you're asking to waive. And in lieu of that, are you willing to provide a fee granting that waiver?
I believe, and the solicitor or township manager may want to weigh in, but I think it's up to us to ask for a fee
Well,
or not.
okay, I would be of a mind to ask for $24,000. I mean, our engineer lowballed it because he said 150, whereas in previous estimates, he mentioned 200. So we got a lowball figure of 24,000.
But yeah, you do have to remember that this is a public utility that will, inevitably pass it on to the ratepayers if.
Well,
in some-
just like
in
a
some form.
for-profit company like Wawa, any expense that they have, obviously they pass on to their customers by raising prices. I don't see really a big difference.
I see a big difference. I don't see the relevance of this at all to what they're talking about. This is a utility company. This is not, I don't see how you can.
All right, let's not compare it to Wawa. All I'm saying is there's been other sidewalks to nowhere.
Why would we want a sidewalk to nowhere?
I don't want a sidewalk to nowhere. I want to know, in lieu of granting this waiver, that as recommended by our planning commission, that we ask for a fee in lieu of requiring a sidewalk. That's all I'm asking. And I'm trying to get an estimate of what the fee might be.
Usually fees in lieu of are asked of developers when they put in a housing development. And in the past, we used to get fees in lieu of park and rec, towards the park and rec department. So the park and rec could use those monies for planting of trees and so on. So asking a non-developer to pay us fees in lieu of, I think, is going above and beyond. Now, in regards to your scenario about Wawa and their sidewalks to nowhere, Wawa put sidewalks on their boundary lines, and they stopped at their boundaries. The thought pattern there was whoever was to develop beyond those boundary lines, we would ask them to continue that pathway, which could go all the way down to, I believe, University Drive or whatever. So, I mean, Wawa stopping, they were stopping because that was within their boundary. They cannot go on to someone else's property and continue the sidewalk, but if someone were to develop that property, whoever it may be, we can ask them to make a continuum of that sidewalk. So that's why this sidewalk to nowhere, basically a sidewalk that just stops and possibly waiting for another developer to pick up the sidewalk from that point on.
I understand that.
I don't know if you did because you kept saying sidewalk to nowhere, but you didn't know that
There
this
are
could be
other-
extended if someone else were to purchase
other
that piece of property.
There are other sidewalks, like if you go on Terry Drive, past the, the post office, the sidewalk goes up to the orthopedic center and just stops. That's a sidewalk to nowhere. There are other sidewalks to nowhere in the business commons, and we have a plan to connect those sidewalks.
And those sidewalks to nowhere stop because those particular landowners, we have to get permission from them to use that property to extend the sidewalks. We just can't go on, unless you want to take them over to eminent domain, we could take on the pathway. But those sidewalks stop there because at that particular time, some of those property owners didn't want to put a sidewalk in. But maybe now they will.
Let's forget about Wawa, for God's sake. Let's talk about
I'm just explaining the reason why Wawa stopped. It's not a sidewalk to nowhere.
You know, I really
It's a
don't care
sidewalk
why
that's
Wawa stopped. I
You
didn't vote
brought,
for Wawa in the
Mr.
first
Mack,
place.
you brought the topic up, not me. I'm
Let's
sorry,
move
I was
on.
just
The
expanding upon
topic
it.
is a fee in lieu of the sidewalk. That's all the topic is that I've been trying to find out what fee that might be.
So you're trying to get a sidewalk that, for them to provide the money to, if I get this correctly, to give to the Tara Boulevard residents and have across the street? Is that what you're trying to do?
Not necessarily, no.
Well, then why else would we
We want
care?
money. I mean, the township residents pay for everything. They pay for you, they pay for me, they pay all the taxes, they pay fees to the utility companies. They're gonna pay for the sewage treatment plant, which I'm sure is not gonna wanna build a sidewalk connecting to Wawa. Wawa would have nothing to do with the sewer authority sewage plant. They don't want their sidewalk to go anywhere near that. So,
Is this something that we have to decide tonight, Mr. Solicitor? Does this have anything to do with what we're listening to tonight?
It's part of,
oh,
it's part of the, potentially of the motion that you will consider to grant a waiver of land development for this applicant.
If I remember what you suggested as a motion, it included the conditions of complying with the RVE.
RVE and CKS review letters of those specific dates.
And we're suggesting another, it's been suggested up here that we'd add another condition to pay a fee in lieu of.
If a majority of the board is of a mind.
Right.
That's why it's being discussed,
Yes.
I assume.
Yes. And we've clarified, I think in my mind, we've clarified how much that would be, somewhere around $20,000 to be worked out with the engineers. But, okay, so is there?
Yeah, let me point out that the saldo, which governs land development in the township, does not contain provisions allowing for or authorizing the board to impose a mandatory fee in lieu of sidewalks. It does allow for a traffic impact fee. It does allow for a fee in lieu of open space, park and rec facilities, but it does not contain authorization to mandate the payment of a fee in lieu of sidewalks. If a fee in lieu of sidewalks is going to be considered in this matter, it would have to be something that the water authority would agree to as a condition. If the board imposes it as a condition and the water authority does not agree with it, it's possibly subject to appeal to court, and successful appeal to court because we have the authority to impose it. But again, right now what we are talking about is negotiation. We're talking about arm's length discussions here, and if conditions are agreeable to the water company, then they may be imposed.
right. I wasn't talking about mandating it from our point of view. I was asking if you were willing to give a fee in lieu of the sidewalk, what that fee might be. That's all I'm asking.
Sorry. I would have to ask my client if we were willing, but if we were, we wouldn't have those numbers in front of us tonight. We would have to resolve that with our engineer speaking with your engineer. So that would have to be the mutual satisfaction of us. But again, for the reasons we've already stated, we don't think that there's going to be benefit to the community. You would essentially be taking money out of one pocket of the community and putting it into the other pocket. It's not as though we're a private developer coming from outside of the community and we're essentially paying to deal with the fact that we're going to cost you more in infrastructure. We're already here. We're just building a filter.
To move this along, is there a consensus of which way we'd like to go with this? I was trying to keep an open mind, but I'm going to say I don't think a fee in lieu is necessary.
I don't feel it's necessary.
I don't feel it's necessary as well.
Well, I'm outgunned, but can you answer one other question? How much does this whole project going to cost you?
That's a great question.
Estimated $3.5 million.
$3.5 million. Where do you get that money from?
Where do we, get
How
the
are
money
you-
to
are
pay for
you-
that.
Are you doing some kind of bond or borrowing, and you have to pay interest on it? How are you going to pay off that loan? Where's the money coming from to pay off the loan? I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Okay.
I think your point is the ratepayers eventually pay the interest on the loan.
Yeah.
May I ask one more, in regards to the building? Would this building at this moment in time and going into the future be sufficient enough that it won't have to be added on? I know it's hard to predict the future, but do you feel that it's big enough to suffice what it needs to do, or should it be bigger? I mean, I'm just looking to eliminate you from coming here 5 years from now and saying we need another addition onto this. Maybe, Dan, is that, okay. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion from the board? This is being vetted all over again. Any from the public?
Yeah, I'll frame a motion, Mr. Chairman, and then you can ask for
Yes.
public comment. It would be a
Very good,
motion
yes.
to grant the request of the Newtown Artesian Water Company for a waiver of land development conditioned on compliance with CKS Engineers Letter dated October 17th, 2024, and compliance with Vernick Engineers Letter dated September 20th, 2024.
Do we have a
And,
motion? Yes.
Mr. Solicitor, would that be to the satisfaction of the township?
Compliance with those letters?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, obviously, to the satisfaction of the individual authors of those
Correct.
letters, yes.
Do we have a motion? Yeah. Okay, do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Any from the public? Going once, going twice. All those in favor of approving this waiver of land development, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. All right, now if you need Mr. Angrove. Thank you. And thank you, sir.
All right. Hi, everybody. I am Dan Ango, the CEO of Newtown Artesian Water Company. Thank you. It's been a couple years since I've been here. Thank you for the platform. Our ultimate goal is for our customers to have confidence to provide safe and reliable drinking water while maintaining an affordable cost, and to meet all standards put in place by the DEP and the EPA. We are governed by the Public Utility Commission as a regulated committee or a company, and we a couple months ago sent out a letter about a rate increase, and that has been ongoing negotiations with the PUC that governs that. I can say that an agreement was put in place this past week, and it came out to a 11.5% increase for our ratepayers, which is roughly $11.94 per quarter, or $4 a month for the average consumer. Part of that increase, when we put in for a rate case, which is the first rate increase since 2019, which I think we all know a lot has happened since 2019 with prices in general. But part of that rate increase does include the construction of the $3.5 million PFAS treatment plant that will remove all the PFAS from the water, drinking water. Also, Phil, as you alluded to, a letter that went out, the lead and copper, is another regulation from the EPA. We have to maintain an inventory of the material that a customer's service line is made of. And if it is lead, then offer a full replacement, the company will. So there is a QR code that came with that letter that shows how to check that. We field a lot of questions. Fortunately, the letter is a template that's given out by the state, very limited altercations made to that. Neighboring townships, Bucks County Water and Sewer, Pennsylvania American Water, sent out similar letters, and yes, it caused quite the commotion as far as is the water safe to drink. 100% it is, but we do need to take an inventory of those service lines going forward. Another topic, since we have not had very much rain, Bucks County has been issued into a drought watch. We always promote conservation, but especially now with the drought conditions. NewtownWater.com shows several ways that our customers can conserve water, and that's an ultimate goal to do that, but especially in drought conditions. Also, as always, we team up with local officials and source water protection, where we watch around our wells and around the water, body water for pollutants. And also a major pollutant is for people to discard their old pharmaceuticals, drugs, whatever, in a proper fashion. I hope that most people are aware now, if you flush those down the toilet, they ultimately will end up in your drinking water at a small dose. So it's very important for those unused drugs that you get to be, I think the township actually holds some give bags. Very important that they're disposed of in the right way. Finally, we have our customer confidence report. We collect over 600 water samples. It's actually more than that now. This is a little dated. And the results can be found on our website at newtownwater.com under the Consumer Confidence Report. So with that, I know there's some questions.
My question was around the QR code. I haven't clicked on it yet, but where does it take you? Does it take you to some pictures of like typical lines?
Correct, and it will take you to how to determine what type of material your service line is.
Okay, and then we would call you or let you know somehow, and you would actually come replace the line.
Ultimately, we're seeing down the road, we're going to have to send a technician out to physically verify. That's pretty much the way the state is going. But for now, if you're concerned about a lead service line, you can determine that and schedule a full replacement of that line.
Are there typical homes in Newtown that would have lead lines?
We are aware of, I think,
Without causing any
about
panic?
25, yeah, about 25 now that the customers have been notified that we have found, but the majority are not. This has been a long process, like a 5-year process that it was, first it was said anything after 1981, then it was determined that's not good enough as they come. So I think locally here is 1991, but again, ultimately I think it's going to be us visiting every residence to see what it is. But for now, the QR code will take you how to check your line, and if you determine that it is lead, to contact us and for a replacement.
Does this particularly pertain to older homes?
Yes.
They would have the pipes. So in our bigger communities like Newtown Grant or Raintree, we wouldn't have to do that, right? Because you already know what those pipes are in the bigger communities.
Logically, I'd say yes, but unfortunately I can't say yes because, again, we're going to have to probably come out and physically verify all residents. That's
Well, I've
the way
seen
it's headed.
I've seen your trucks all throughout the neighborhood, so
Yeah.
I assume that's definitely what you're doing. So these filters, when you say if pharmaceuticals are dumped down the toilet or whatever, these filters are capable of filtering that out, right?
Which filters? These?
The filters you use now and the filters that you're installing.
So when I say it ends up, so it would be a very minute, but ultimately it's there, a dilution to it. But to prevent that, dispose of them the proper way.
But still, you filter out most of it. It's just curiosity. It's not a,
If it's at that level, then most filters will not remove something like that.
and then it just goes into everybody's drinking water.
Ultimately,
Unless we take them to our drug take-back days.
Well, I get that, yeah.
yeah, and that's yeah.
Yes. I think maybe we should make that more widely known in some way. I don't know how, but I didn't know that. I thought that the filters would just, disperse of that and take it out. So it's interesting to know that.
I know Chief Fern announced how many hundreds of pounds we collected at our last meeting,
Yes.
because we just had.
How many did we not collect?
Yeah, exactly, yes. Mr. Mack, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I'm trying to get I think Mr. Calabro mentioned something about getting a letter, a QR letter. I don't recall receiving that. Is that for checking whether you have lead pipes?
Yeah, so the letters would have been determined off of the age of the house for now.
What age are you talking about?
That I'm not sure. If you can go on our website, and there's a full page of information on that, newtownwater.com.
Okay, so I can go there and find out information about my
Yeah, and
particular problem?
if you wanted to check yours, you could verify.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Mr.
Yeah, Dan, for those of us that live in a planned community, either townhouse or condominiums, we don't have a direct line because we're not a single-family home. What is our safety, or what do we do to, find out if our property is safe? Since I'm assuming if it comes to condominiums, it's probably a shared line that goes out to all.
It's still the service line inside your house, so
Okay.
it would be an inside to verify what it is on the inside.
Okay. Was there some sort of building code at a particular time, like you were saying, 1991?
Yeah,
or-
again, there's, townships are different, counties are different, but again, safely, say 91, but again, it's going to come down to us verifying everything.
Okay. So if we live in a condominium, go through this, the QR code will still tell us?
How to check your line, correct?
Okay. In the meantime, we're okay?
Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes. A good point about that is if the samples, lead and copper, we collect those every 3 years, and we've met regulations. So.
Because I have neighbors calling me if a neighbor is concerned, what should they do besides taking the QR code? And
the best thing is to go to newtownwater.com, and it has a full page of information about it.
Okay. Thank you.
Actually, one last thing I would like to say too, as far as the environment goes as well, we highly encourage paperless billing. So newtownwater.com makes it very easy for customers to sign up for paperless as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
All right. I believe reports of officials are next. And we have our engineer with us this evening, Mr. Kandari.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No special items on our agenda tonight, but happy to give some updates and answer some resident questions on our 2 active construction projects. The Newtown Township Pedestrian Upgrades Project, the contract has been awarded to T. Schaefer Contractors. That was awarded in the October 7th Board of Supervisors meeting. The contracts have been executed, and we have held a pre-construction meeting with the contractor here in the Township Building on November 7th, which is highlighted in our monthly engineering report. The notice to proceed has not been issued yet to the contractor for a few reasons. We were waiting for an anticipated schedule from them, which we did receive this week. So they are anticipating starting work mid-December, weather permitting. There is a lot of concrete work with this project, so that is dependent on the weather. What is the date the construction will begin on site? Like I said, the contractor is looking to start around December, weather permitting, and the notice to proceed will be issued accordingly. The contract has a 90 calendar day duration, but there have been some updates on lead times for material, so depending on those, that may be extended, but in the contract, it is a 90 calendar day duration project. Our business common sidewalk project, we have the executed contracts with that contractor, and we are in the process of scheduling the pre-construction meeting, which looks like will be scheduled for next week. Just to address some of the comments that were said during public comment and sent to the supervisors via email. Did we receive a quote from the awarded contractor? No, we have not. That doesn't really apply in this situation since that contractor will not be doing this work. So they will not be issued a change order. I believe this was sent around to the supervisors in an email last week from the solicitor and the township manager. RVE unnecessarily and inaccurately inflated our cost estimate. I disagree. We put our cost estimates together based on current construction costs. So that's what we did. Mr. Max is pointing out that we lowballed our sidewalk cost estimate. I have all of the bid submissions for this project that vary and range from $90 to $200 per square yard. So in the interest of being conservative, we do use that higher number in our cost estimate. And we are in the process of coordinating with the Multimodal Transportation Fund, as discussed at the last meeting, to expand the scope of this project for a potential phase 2 to be able to use those funds for the Newtown Yardley sidewalk. Finally, it looks like there was a question about the letter of adjustment and the letter of amendment that's in the contract agreement for the grant. Provisions do not apply here either. The letter of adjustment in that contract agreement is for funds that have already been allocated for this grant. In this case, the Newtown Yardley work has not been included in this grant, so a letter of adjustment would not be applicable here. And the letter of amendment, as I stated in my email, would be for making any changes to the standard provisions in the grant contract. I believe that answers most of the resident questions. So just to sum it all up, the project is in the process of starting. We have our pre-construction meeting next week, and we're looking forward to a nice project.
I had a couple questions just based on what you said. So we're looking at mid-December for Terra Drive RFBs.
Yes, mid-December for the site work. I did mention that there is some lead time for the decorative poles. So the idea would be to do as much of the site work as possible and get it to a point where we can kind of button it up as we wait for those poles to be delivered and installed.
Great. And then as far as the possible project of doing the sidewalks.
Yes.
Extending the sidewalks. You wrote specifications, or you did some preliminary specifications of what the cost would be, I don't know, cost estimate it was.
Yeah, when it was first brought to us to see how much it may cost to put in the sidewalk, we put together a cost estimate for that.
Now, the next step that you would do would be, what the engineer would do would be to, well, number one, stay in touch with PennDOT to see if we could get those funds approved.
Correct.
From the previous grant. And secondly, then, to do some specifications for a bid package.
Yeah, essentially it would be a separate project, so
Yeah.
we'd have to prepare the bid package, put it out for advertisement, and receive bids.
And those bids might come in lower than what your specifications are, but that's what you always do.
Yeah, that's possible.
So, I think that's the last of my questions. I reserve the right to come back and ask another question. Anybody else have a question for our engineer?
You haven't spoken to, I guess, where are we getting this money from to begin with for
PennDOT.
PennDOT? Have you spoken to PennDOT about?
Yes.
And your conclusion was that we cannot use any of the money for what the residents were asking about in terms of Newtown Yardley Road?
No, I did not say that. I said it wouldn't be used for this project, that we currently have a contract with a contractor to do the Business Commons connection project.
My understanding, John, is that we can still do a project. It would just be a separate project. It'd be a different procedure of doing it. So we could get it done. It'd just be a different procedure, or a correct procedure, maybe.
Well, it sounds like, what was $384,000 under bid or something like that?
The MTF grant award was, yes, $873,000. Our bid for this Business Commons project was $488,880.
Right, so we can't use that extra money for anything else. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm working with PennDOT to see if we can use those funds for an expanded scope of.
Oh, you are?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Where are you in that process? Can I ask that?
Yeah, in emailing and speaking with them, they had requested a letter basically stating what it is we're looking to do, a plan, what we're looking to do, and justification. So this was discussed at the last meeting. We've been working on it, and we will be submitting that to them as soon as we wrap that up.
Okay, thanks.
Can I ask about the justification process? I know about the crosswalk itself that we've been working on, and it's certainly justified there. Wonder, have there been any accidents on that portion of the road that we're talking about that is in front of the cemetery, that, or is it just for looks? You know, that's what I'm curious to know. Is it a real safety issue? Because as I understand it, I don't think there's been any accidents at that point. I'm just wondering if we really need it.
Yeah, I don't have the accident data in front of me. I think that's something we could pull from PennDOT in that location.
Well, after asking, there hasn't been any injury here.
There is an existing
Yeah.
asphalt trail.
Right.
There is some existing curbing in that stretch between Elm and Terry Drive. So there is a walking path.
Right. Also, it would change the look of the Newtown Cemetery, which, you know, that's been there for a long time. It's got a certain look. It blends with the community. I personally think it looks great the way it is, and there haven't been any accidents there. So I'm just wondering of the necessity for the whole thing, because I still don't get it. I understand the crosswalk, absolutely, but the rest of this, I just don't think it's needed. That's my opinion.
Thank you. I did remember one other question.
Yep.
Would there be an option, instead of doing curbing, to do a guardrail? Which would probably be more effective safety-wise.
If the concern is pedestrian safety, then yeah, that would certainly be a consideration.
Usually more expensive or less expensive?
I think this case, it would be less expensive. I mean, it's a considerable size project to add that curbing and sidewalk along that
Well,
stretch.
part of that asphalt trail gets right up to the road. There's hardly any back, and cars are speeding along. They're still going faster than the speed limit. And I know, I guess we should just wait for somebody to be killed, like in front of the, in the township where a man was unfortunately killed, and we had to take a lot of grief for that because we ignored that. So, you know, if there's going to be more people, we just put in a trail, and people are going to get into the borough. They're going to have to go through the trail, go across the crosswalk that you're making there, and then go onto this little bit of a dangerous area as far as I'm concerned. It's very close to the traffic. And when we were there making the video, cars passing by faster than the speed limit. The police can't be there all the time.
Yeah, I don't think that's what anyone wants, and I know.
I know you don't want that.
Okay.
And so I appreciate whatever work you're doing to see if we can use the money at hand, why not do it? You know, so that's my point of view.
I thank Mr. Kandari for giving us the update and continue.
Yep.
Move on to our solicitor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item on our report is a request by Brandmar LLC for a one-year extension of zoning relief that they received for improvements and expansion of the Greystone restaurant up on Washington Crossing Road. I think everybody's familiar with Greystone. This was relief that was granted on September 15, 2023, due to some financial concerns. The applicant was not able to complete the improvements that were the subject of the zoning relief. They have inquired as to the board whether the board will consider a one-year extension. This is provided for in the joint municipal zoning ordinance. The procedure is that if zoning relief goes beyond 6 months without the applicant obtaining a permit, it expires, and that the respective boards of supervisors have the authority to grant no more than one-year extension of the zoning relief. That has been requested here. If the board is of a mind, it would be a motion to grant the request of Brandmar LLC for a one-year extension of zoning relief to expire March 15th, 2025.
Would someone like to make that motion? Or do we want to have a little discussion? We have a motion, we have a second? I'll second it. I did have a question. This expired in March of 2024?
Correct. 6 months after September 15th, 2023, it expired. That was March 15th, 2024. And this request is obviously being made after the fact, but it's still a remedy that's available to the applicant.
Okay. So that's a way to go.
Yeah, and the fact that they waited to request it sort of limits how much time they have to actually complete it.
Right.
But it would, 1 year from the expiration date takes us only up to March of 25. So we have been assured, at least in the letter, that that will be enough time for the improvements to be completed.
Okay. Is anybody here from representing the, do you want to say anything?
Good evening, board members. My name is Erica Miller. I'm an attorney at Obermeyer. I'm here with a couple members from Brandmar. We're happy to answer any questions, but yeah, so basically we will need to go through land development, and I've been assured by our engineer that between now and what they've already begun working on and March, we'll be able to get our ducks in a row financially and engineering-wise to submit for land development.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Oh, I just have one question, and refresh my memory. What's being taken care of?
So it was numerous lists of variances that were, are you asking what the approval was in front of the zoning board?
What was the project?
What's the project? Yeah,
Okay,
what-
so it was mainly an expansion of the parking lot. This restaurant has almost 200 seats, and it's severely underparked. So mainly an expansion of the parking lot, and they're considering an expansion of the building. We're not 100% sure if we're gonna go forward as part of the building expansion, but definitely the parking.
Okay. If I'm standing in front of the building, looking at the building, are you going to be developing more of a parking lot to the left?
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. Any negotiation with the lot across the street? I know when it's busy, you park across the street and people have to cross Washington Crossing Road. Is that something happening there?
That was part of the approval,
Okay.
and will be part of our land development package if that's, how we go
Okay.
forward.
It's always good to have over parking because that means you're busy. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So hopefully you get that taken care of and things will be as successful as they continue to be. You got a great outside area too. I haven't been, but when I drive by, I look over and see that it's pretty busy and the umbrellas are up and so on. So continued success.
Any other board's comments, questions? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of granting the request for an extension of zoning relief for the Greystone, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next item on our agenda is consideration by the board of whether it wishes to take a position on any of the 3 zoning hearing applications that you heard reported to the board on by Ms. Driscoll from the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission has recommended no action on these. Does the board wish to consider taking action on them? Hearing crickets?
Hearing none.
I will assume not, and that concludes our report.
Brings us to the manager's report. Mr. Manager.
Thank you,
you're on.
Mr. Chairman. General fund balance this evening is $7,096,756. Plan expirations before the board with no action required. This evening we have Chief Forsyth to give his monthly ESD report. Evening, Chief.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I am happy to report for the month of October, we had 158 calls for service. We completed 34 fire safety inspections in Newtown Township and 24 in Newtown Borough. Some of our highlights for October, we assisted Midway Fire Company on a large barn fire in Solebury Township. And we had several brush fires over the month of October, and they continued into the month of November. Thank God we finally got some rain to take care of some of our brush fires. We responded to 38 alarm systems, 73 EMS calls, 3 auto excavations, 8 traffic accidents. We had 4 investigations, 1 gas leak, 2 wires calls, 2 building fires, 4 fumes in calls. I can't even read my own writing. We had 4 cover calls for covering other agents, other fire departments. We had 7 brush fires, 1 fuel spill, 2 dwelling fires, and 1 barn. For the month of October, for our fire prevention activities, we completed 26 events. That includes our schools for a total of 1,843 contacts. Our largest point of contact was in our schools, obviously. 1,002 children from the ages of 5 to 9, and 230 from the age of 10 to 14. And we conducted fire prevention activities up to groups ranging to 60 to 64 years of age. So our guys were very busy in the month of October. Hopefully, we can start and slow down. Obviously, with the cooler weather, please pay attention to your heaters and your fireplaces. If you have any questions, by all means, don't hesitate to reach out to the fire department and see if we can assist you in any issues you may have. So that is my report for the month of October. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
I have two quick questions. You will help us with fire alarm, the fire smoke detectors.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's available.
Yep. We are continuing the smoke detector program through the Red Cross. If anybody has any questions or needs assistance with their fire alarms, please call us. The folks at Delancey Court have reached out to us. They're all hardwired systems, so we went over and talked to a couple residents there, and their homeowners association is putting a team together. And any assistance we can give them, we're here to do it for them. But with that hardwired system, it's really up to them to make all the necessary repairs. So if your smoke detectors are more than 10 years old, please reach out to us. We can assist you in determining how old they are and make recommendations on what type of smoke detector to put up and if we can help. And if you do not have a working smoke detector, we will furnish at least one or two for you before we leave there to make sure you're safe.
I know my system told me when I was ready to be, because it went on and it wouldn't go off. I had to call an electrician.
That's the hardware system, and they're tough to work on. So we're experiencing that here with the township building. Unfortunately, Micah and Catherine are experiencing fire alarm difficulties here with the municipal complex. So we're working to try to get that corrected, and hopefully we can decrease the alarm sounding here at the township building also.
And did I read correctly that engines 55 and 45 were helpful in Langhorne with the fire?
Yes, we had a serious fire 2 Saturdays ago in Langhorne. We assisted them. The Langhorne and Parkland Fire Company made 2 rescues at that fire. They actually had to remove people from the 2nd floor window via a ladder. Engine 55 and Rescue 45 were both on the scene. It's been a crazy month for us. We assisted Northampton on a serious dwelling fire. That was started by one of those burn pits on a deck. So please be careful. The county did extend the burn ban. So please be careful any outside fires you have because they're extremely dangerous right now.
Chief, I just have a quick question in regards to, we're involved with what they call mutual aid.
Yes,
we help all the, and maybe the public doesn't realize that our scope goes way beyond Newtown Township. I see that we've answered calls in Solebury, Buckingham, Langhorne, even Pendle.
Yeah.
Well, is there a particular area that we do cover, or do we just go wherever the call?
We mainly focus on our mutual aid neighbors, Northampton, Upper Makefield, Middletown Township. We do have a specialized unit, what we call a RIT team. That's a rapid intervention team in case there has to be rescues made. We're automatic call into Pendle as their RIT team. We have been going as far as New Hope. We responded to the Logan Inn fire a couple weeks ago. And our career staff is making a difference because they're people that can be counted on for a quick response. And we've been very successful with the career staff making pretty good stops to fires. So we have expanded our mutual aid only because with the lack of volunteers, we are going deeper into mutual aid calls because of the lack of response from other departments.
Well, I think it's great, and I think the people of the township should know that and be proud that our fire department is answering the call to our neighboring areas.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you. And if anyone is interested in joining the fire department, we'll be more than happy to have you. We'll train you. We'll buy you the turnout gear to make you safe. We're always looking for members, and we can't do it without the volunteers. So it's important that we keep focusing on the need for volunteers and how important they really are to our community. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. That concludes our report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Move on to minutes, bills, list, and reports. So, Mac.
All right, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 13, 2024.
There's a motion, his bringing it forth was a motion, and we have it over here. Any discussion? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving our minutes, the minutes of November 13th, 2024, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Okay, I make a motion that we pay our bills according to the November 26, 2024 bills list of $158,569.54.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. A motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of paying our bills as listed on the bills list of November 26, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Finally, I make a motion to transfer funds of $297,788.68.
That's interfund transfers?
Interfund transfer.
Yep. Do we have a motion? We have a motion. Do we have a second? Thank you, Mr. Calabro. Motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? Any from the public? Let me call the question. All those in favor of paying our interfund transfers of November 26, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, 4-0. Brings us to our second round of public comment. And all those wanting to make comment, please come forth.
Charles Foyer, Newtown Walk. Thank you for asking the questions earlier of the township engineer. I don't come away with a clear picture of what he was trying to explain. So perhaps my questions that I previously submitted I should restate so they're better understood. Specifically, did the multimodal grant manager from PennDOT indicate that a letter of adjustment or a letter of amendment would not apply to this sidewalk project extension of the existing Newtown Business Commons sidewalk project? Secondly, based upon the response I got, that the contractor wouldn't do it, did the contractor, NJS Concrete, who's been awarded the Newtown Business Commons sidewalk project, indicate that they would not participate in the increased scope of work at their bid award rates? I don't know if I have to wait till the next BOS meeting for the answer for these questions, but I think they're rather clear, and we hope that they could be answered. Thank you.
Thank you. I do believe they can be answered too.
Randy Edgington, Newtown Walk as well. Tonight you raised the question of, has there been any accidents at the crosswalk? Well, I don't know that there have been, but I can tell you this, twice in the last month with my 10-year-old granddaughter, I've been there trying to cross while riding bikes, and a minimum of 10 cars have failed to stop. I count them every time I'm there. I also would submit to you that people refuse to even attempt to go across that crosswalk for the reason of safety. So, you know, let's not wait for an issue to happen to get this thing moving.
Thank you. I think Mr. Max, not to draw this out, but I think Mr. Max's question was around the, any accidents on the pathway, on the trail. I think we've stipulated already that that's why we're doing the RRFPs. So, a redirect?
I can answer that. I believe at the last Board of Supervisors meeting, you heard Valerie Mahalik describe how with her daughter, the problem with the crosswalk the way it is now, and we understand it's going to be changed, but cars approaching the crosswalk, when one car or two cars stop, it's the third or fourth car that doesn't and veers into the entrance lane for Newtown Walk coming toward the borough, but uses the cemetery lawn as an escape from cars coming that are leaving the borough because there's no curb. And we showed in the video that the sidewalk meets the road at one point. So there's no protection for pedestrians, wheelchairs, or bicyclists. And also, I submitted last time the letter of amendment, letter of adjustment for the multimodal contract that Newtown has with PennDOT for this grant. And both the letter of adjustment, I can read you where it says new exhibits are replacing the old exhibits and the scope of work can change as long as the total cost doesn't surpass the full grant amount. And that's applicable to letter of adjustment and letter of amendment. That's why we asked that new exhibits and justification be submitted. That's why my question is, did PennDOT Multimodal, the manager, and I'd ask for the name of that manager, specifically say to RVE that this grant could not be amended or adjusted? Because I heard the township engineer say this would be considered a whole new project. So I'm trying to get clarification on what the township engineer is giving for answers. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Let me find my agenda. I think we're on to old business. And listed under old business is the budget. Do we have any?
Yes, we do.
Yep. Right. Ms. Snyder, you're on.
I had just asked for some clarification wording to put in there about the potential to hire firefighters, and I want to point out that on page S2, the bottom paragraph does indicate that money can be used for the hiring of firefighters. So just wanted to clarify that.
So that change has been made, and the latest iteration is November 14th? Dated November 14th. Any other comments or questions about the, I believe we can't, I know that we can't vote on it tonight. It'll be discussed, hopefully approved in the December 11th meeting. Great. Any other old business? I just want to mention under new business that various boards and commissions have openings for volunteers to get involved in the township. So if anyone is interested, they can go to the township website, go to government, and I believe it's the government tab, and the list of boards and committees are there. I believe there's some definitions of boards and committees, and there are some vacancies listed. So especially, I believe there's a couple of spots on EAC. I think there's spots on the Human Relations Commission. This is off the top of my head. There might be one seat on the Planning Commission that's up. Trying to think, Joint Historic Commission has a couple that are open. Help me, Mr. Lewis, is it Building Code of Appeals?
Yeah, Board of Appeal, yes.
Board of Appeals has a couple openings. So there are ways that people can get involved in the township. And like I say, just go to the township website. You'll need a letter of interest to be sent to Olivia Gabenko. That's all I have. Any other old or new business?
Well, you did talk about the HARB request regarding
yes.
property maintenance ordinance for the historic district with some enforcement methods. How do we address that?
My thought would be to certainly go through the Planning Commission, but to solicit or to do some research and find an ordinance that are out there. I'm sure that there are townships that have, or municipalities that have some guide for an ordinance on that. I don't know if we asked.
I'm not familiar with some of the maintenance problems. Do we first go out and try to collect what those problems are? I don't understand what we're trying to correct.
Okay.
People have been sending us pictures of places that are, have not been kept up with, but also there's older houses and shops in the community that the owners or whoever owns the building is not keeping up with the outside of that building. So I think we need something put in place that says that we want the nature of our town to continue to look as becoming as it always has by keeping up with any maintenance needs.
Are we specifically talking about business property like on North Sycamore? I know, for example, the old place that was the rug merchants. When I first moved into town, there was a double murder, I think, in that building. I'm not sure.
Well, they've completely redone the outside of
Right,
that building.
so,
But
yeah.
just in case there's other buildings, and I'm sure
Are we talking mostly about commercial properties? What are we guessing here?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. Would a proper way to address this be through the Planning Commission?
I mean, they came to us, so.
Yeah. The HARB can.
But, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Was the direction to take care of buildings within the HARB district? Because, one, we have to determine what is the HARB district.
Okay.
I believe the building that Mr. Mack is referring to, which we all agreed was falling apart, I don't even think that is a historic building. So that really wouldn't even sit within the HARB district for us to say anything. So I guess, one, we have to determine what's in the HARB district, and then two, what properties are needed to be refurbished if necessary, because that would be the most important thing.
So you're only talking about those?
Well, HARB, yeah, well, I mean, I would just assume because HARB just deals with HARB. Their concern is signage and so on
It
within the
says
HARB
historic
district.
district.
Well, that is HARB.
Okay. Is there demarcation for that?
Well, Sycamore Street to a certain extent. So, I mean, you can't, some buildings are historic and some were actually relocated. Like, I mean, for instance, the infamous toll building, which is now where Nina's is at, that could be considered historic, but that was actually picked up and put there. So once that is done, it pretty much loses its historic value. It's not in the same position that it was in the township.
Does anybody go to Nina's? I haven't
I
seen.
just had something from there the other night. So
Okay.
It's very good.
What was it, $8?
Huh?
Was it $8?
Is it supposed to be?
I don't know.
I don't
Just,
know.
just for the board's
Mr. Manager,
clarification, on the zoning map, the overlay is indicated by a crosshatch pattern for the Harb District.
For the Harb District, so there is a Harb District. I was assuming from what they wrote here, now, John said, Mr. Mack said about the historic district, I'll have to reread it. But my assumption was they were talking about the whole township, so. That's what I thought too. Okay, we need to look at that.
I don't think we can get into that. We need to stick to the historic district.
And keep it small, start small.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know if Ms. Snyder was referring to that property that has been vandalized over where the old LSAT building, but that's not in the Harb. I mean, I'm sure we could do some send some enforcement, but that's not within the Harb district, so.
Right.
Do we have to do it just in the Harb district, or can we do it on a township-wide?
Yes, we could, but I mean, their request is within the Harb district. I mean, even like that sign request tonight, that particular building was within the Harb district because Harb was the one that approved it. So,
So, place to start might be the planning commission and,
I would suggest putting it back on Harb to come forward with some sort of recommendation.
okay.
I mean, what exactly are you looking for in a recommendation? Can you be specific on that?
I can't be specific. It's not my recommendation. It would be Harb coming to the board saying, we're recommending you do X, Y, and Z with some sort of property maintenance code, whether it's in the Harb district or township-wide.
Would they need to go to I guess they don't have to go through the planning commission.
No, but that's an option. I mean, eventually an ordinance would need to be developed and adopted.
Okay.
And then we would have to get Wrightstown involved, or?
No, this would be a township-only ordinance. It would be in the code of ordinances.
Okay.
All right, anybody else?
Mr. Chair, you did make mention about openings on different boards and commissions, and usually at this particular time of the year, getting close to reorganization, the board has a caucus, executive session caucus, of which we make those determinations. Have we come up with any particular date?
Couple hours before the meeting started, I sent out an email suggesting, I think it was the 19th at 5 o'clock, December 19th at 5 o'clock.
If I could just mention, the chair of the planning commission sent a little text that says the Harb runs all the way down Sycamore Street from Durham Road to the bypass. We are only looking for a maintenance ordinance for Sycamore Street, whether the building is historic or not.
I thank the chair for sticking on the airwaves this long.
Yeah.
Great. Seeing no other business and without objection, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you and good night, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.